Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. Live life. Live fully.
Hi, once again, my name is Omobola Stephen. Welcome to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. I have a guest on my show today, Janis Isaman. She's the founder of My Body Couture. She's also a speaker and an instructor. Now, what she does is that she provides customized individualized movement and nutrition coaching. Welcome with me on Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, Janis Isaman.
Hello, it's great to be here.
Thank you so much for coming out. So who is Janis Isaman? I meet you?
There's a lot of different ways to answer that question, but professionally, I'm a business owner, and I started my business, which is a bricks and mortar business, to provide service that I wish that I had been able to access at a time in my life when I had pain in my body. And so the primary driver of most of my clients is that something in their body hurts, their hips, their knees, their neck, their shoulders. And I've had a couple of experiences in my own life where I have chased around to different professionals, and much as massage or chiropractic, et cetera, are great services in their own right. When I would return to my day-to-day life after getting treatment and feeling some relief, the pain would come back. So I help people get to the root of the pain, which really relates to how much they're sitting, how they're walking, how they're standing, how they're sitting down, how they're moving on that day-to-day level. I also tackle kind of the whole life circle where if we're carrying a ton of stress, we're going to get very compressed. We have no outlet for that. Our bodies are going to hurt, etc. So I love what I do because I really help people. I really help people get to the underlying root of discomfort and dysfunction in their life. And then in my personal life, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
No, I said, which is typical of almost everybody.
Right. This is true. So I provide my services in person as well as digitally, but it is it's very, very rare to explain that kind of service and have somebody over the age of 30 or 35 who says, no, I have no
so is that what
that.
you do in the body? Oh, I see. Is that what you do in My Body Couture?
So almost everybody needs.
Is that basically what you do?
Yes, that is what I do with My Body Couture. Yes.
Oh, all right.
Yes. So that is a company that has had a physical space. I'm sorry, I think our technology is kind of talking over each other. I apologize.
I think so. So you're a certified Pilates instructor. So who is a Pilates instructor?
Yeah,
you
so
are
I
a certified
combine.
Pilates instructor.
I am satisfied. Yes,
Yeah.
I am absolutely satisfied by what I do.
I wanted to know more about that. I wanted to know more about the Pilates instructor.
About being
Tell me about it.
Well,
yeah.
So those are titles that I have, and those are modalities that I access, but I don't teach Pilates in a classic sense. So teaching Pilates is something that I do. I do it every day, but I don't have people come into my studio and march them through choreography. Pilates is a great body of choreography. I teach yoga as well. I teach a technique called Yamana bodybuilding. And I do actually, I strand each of these things out to teach group classes. But what I really do when people come in to see me is I give them what they need. So you're going to get Pilates if you need strengthening, and if specifically, especially if you need core strengthening. That's really what stand out.
I see.
But other people need to be stretched out. Other people need to have more mobility in their body. And maybe Pilates is not the right discipline for them at that moment.
That's right.
So I'm really building customized packages based on what is happening in front of me. And frankly, even in the same person, from week to week, it's going to be different. Because if you start with no core strength and then we get exercises to help that, by next week, you're going to be stronger than you were today.
Oh, God. Brilliant. So why do you choose to be a movement specialist?
Why did I choose to be a movement specialist? Because, I chose to do that because when I was in university taking my business degree, I was headed down a specific life path that I thought was going to take me into marketing, which it actually did for a long time. And I started running and I hurt my knee. And when I hurt my knee, I couldn't figure out how to make my knee feel better. And so I alluded to this already, but I do today what I wish had been available to me then, because it, quite honestly, had I seen me back in the day, in less than 3 hours, I would have had no knee pain. But instead, I went through cycles of physiotherapy, and I went to sports medicine doctors, and I went to see a rolfer, and I went here and there and everywhere. And I tried to sort out how to make this feel better. And I couldn't get to the root of it. So it would feel better for a bit, and then it would not feel better again, especially if I went for another one. And that's when I actually, kind of during that discovery phase, I actually discovered Pilates. And it was long enough ago that nobody really, it actually wasn't even called Pilates. It was called Contrology. The only people who did it were dancers. But immediately just had this sense of, this makes my body feel better, and it actually makes it feel better in this really long-term sense. And since that day, I've always done some level of Pilates, sometimes more, sometimes less, but I instantly had this sense that I wanted to teach. And it took me 10 years to actually move in that direction, and another 10 after that to open my studio. So it wasn't like an overnight, story, but
that's good.
But it was following that thread of, I have this problem in my life and I need a solution, and just adding layers and pieces and information and knowledge. And then that's what really blends together to give that really gift of knowledge and lifetime experience to my clients every day.
Oh, so how far have you gone? What are your achievements?
What are my achievements?
Yes, how far have you gone?
I mean, I think it's a massive achievement to open a bricks and mortar business, and it's a massive achievement to keep it open during COVID.
Great. Absolutely. Nice one.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always the glaring trumpet of achievement.
That's right. No, I understand.
Yeah.
No problem.
So
I understand.
I think as well, I parent a child by myself. So really, again, I'm gonna name something that's an achievement that seems like a basic thing, but I had a conversation with the director of a women's entrepreneurship group, and she said only 5% of female-led single-parent businesses actually survive, and I am one of them. And I'm not only a single parent, I'm a lone parent, so I'm by myself. So I beat the odds every day that this business exists, because I'm moving into year 9 of having this space, and that has long exceeded the expected lifespan. So just, that the achievements aren't necessarily plaques on the wall. They are literally doors are open. Everything's functioning. Clients are happy. We're good.
That's what is important. The clients need to be happy.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about our body. I want us to talk about our body.
Yeah.
How well do we understand our body?
Yeah.
How well do we understand our body?
Not very well. That is a really great question. So part of what I teach, I actually come from a lineage. My mother, my grandfather were teachers, and I consider myself an educator more than a teacher in some ways. So a teacher, it sounds like I'm splitting hairs, but a teacher can a movement teacher can give choreography, and we see it sometimes where we say, we're going to do 10 of these and 9 and 8 and 7. There's no information given to us about our bodies. So what I noticed with clients, and this applied to me, so this is not a critique of other people, it's me too. The only thing we tend to learn about our bodies happens in 2 different ways. One is in junior high and high school, which for many of us is years ago. And we learned about here, the leg bone is called the femur. And, there's no context for that. It doesn't tell us how to maintain our body. It doesn't give us any owner's manual on what we're supposed to do or how to keep it healthy.
That's right. You're right.
And especially at that age, you're like 20 lifetimes away from having any body pain or needing, everything just functions and you're like, oh, I don't care, right?
You're right.
And then the second pathway that we have for learning about our body tends to be through the lens of weight loss. So here are all the ways and things that we can do to keep this culturally accepted body shape and size. And that also doesn't teach us anything about our body. So I consider myself to be an educator in terms of body awareness and basic functional, useful knowledge about our body and how we can actually maintain it. So we do need to know some of the names of the bones, but we need to know them so that we can have that education and awareness for ourselves. I liken it to maintaining a car. I have really low car knowledge. So if I hear a noise in my car, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I have to go to the shop, right? And I think many people can relate to that. But that's kind of what most of us are doing with our body. The second that there's anything that's the matter, we have to outsource the entire project to someone else. Now, the difference is that I can swap cars every 4 to 5 years. I can go buy a brand new car if my car breaks down. With our bodies, we don't get that luxury. This is it. In this lifetime, this is what you have. So every time you hear or feel something in your body that it doesn't feel right, I don't ever think that anybody should be in the position where they have to see a doctor, a chiropractor, massage therapist, a movement specialist, or an instructor of any kind to say, hey, I think there's something wrong. And here's where it is. And here's what it feels like. And here's something I can do about it. And of course, there are places for professionals, but I think that we all need to carry a little bit of basic responsibility for having a bit of awareness. So for example, with my car, even with that low level of knowledge that I have, I know how to put gas in my car. I don't have to call every time I need gas in my car, right? And so I think that many of us are in that scenario. We literally have to call someone to put gas in our body. And we don't know how to cook. We don't know how to exercise. We don't know anything about what our body's supposed to feel like or how to maintain it. So every client walks out with some level of better knowledge about that body maintenance than they started with. And that for me is that's a really key cornerstone of the work I'm doing. Like, I almost work myself out of a job because I'm like, here's what you need to know to do this yourself.
So would you advise your client to go on a fat diet, or he or she prefers to choose healthy, nutritious food?
Well, fat diets are something that I have a nutrition certification, and I think that both my body work and my nutrition work kind of fit into the same wheel. We can do crazy things to our body, and we can do short-term things that will get us some results, but we will almost never be able to sustain that. Life is a very long time. So at this moment, I know that this is a controversial statement because there are people who would argue me to the end of the planet, but to cut out carbs and to never eat another carbohydrate for the next 85 years for most of us has no practical application. And so we set off into these diets And we think it's a lifestyle and we think it's a permanent change, but we don't think through those moments when we're sitting in a community gathering in front of a birthday cake. We don't think through to those moments where there's fresh baked bread on the table. And so I don't find that fad diets are typically sustainable, and that's why they don't work. And that isn't to say that we shouldn't have eating guidelines and principles, and that isn't to say that we can eat whatever we want at any moment in life. But I really look for, in both movement and nutrition, things that are truly sustainable without feeling like we're making sacrifices. And especially carbohydrates, especially right now, seem to really always be on that chopping block. And we've seen this culturally cycle. You know, in the 90s, it was fat. Now it's carbs, and we're going to kind of cycle through these things again. But it just is a very difficult ask to ask people to, especially with food, to kind of step outside of social cultural norms and cut out a whole food group for the rest of your entire life. My life isn't even half over, and I can't imagine never eating any bread again, never eating any chocolate again, never sharing food at, you know, an occasion again. That's not realistic to me.
We need to balance it. I think balance is always very key in every decision making.
Yes.
It's been lovely, Omobola Stephen. I've been having a brilliant and exciting discussion with Janis Isaman. Janis Isaman is the founder of My Body Couture. She's a speaker and an instructor. Now, can you discuss a bit about mindset and emotional wellness?
Yes, I think that really links back to the underlying health of our body. Because if our body is stressed and compressed and we're under tension and pressure, we're going to feel that in our brain. So the example that I love to give, if you walk around with your hand clenched all day long, you don't even need to squeeze it, just 5% clenched. At some point, you're going to feel mental stress. You're going to feel agitated. You're going to feel irritated. You're going to feel tired. And so I think that mindset actually starts with proper sleep, proper nutrition, proper exercise, because then we're not walking around with that clenched fist. And then we can see things with the proper perspective. I think that I'm very clearly, given what I do for a living, there's growth mindset, there's fixed mindset. And I believe that anybody in any condition at any age can make changes. There's never a moment that it is too late. There's never a moment where we say, oh, you're 70, it's too late, too bad. So having that mindset that we can make changes is really key. And that keeps us interested, engaged, and wanting to learn. And as soon as we realize that we can learn, we can grow, we can change, and that mindset is one of being positive and optimistic as opposed to fatalistic and stuck.
Very important. Very important. So how have you handled clients who had a low self-esteem? How have you handled a client who had a low self-esteem?
That's a great question. I mean, I come from probably like low physical self-esteem where I wasn't naturally athletic. And so I really relate to that idea.
Including I.
We can get really awesome. Yeah. And we can get really stuck in that where we think that it's like a detriment to us. What I try to do is give clients things that are possible for them. And because we do have possibilities, and seeing that, you know, I'm never going to be recruited by the Cirque du Soleil. I don't have that flexibility. And so I could have low self-esteem about my flexibility. In junior high, I was told I had the lowest one. I was in the bottom first percentile in the whole country for flexibility. And I turned out to be a yoga teacher. So, you know, I think that self-esteem is often linked to comparison with others as opposed to comparison with ourselves.
That's
right. What I tend to do is show a client what is possible for them at this moment. And usually there's one tick up from where they are today. And it opens the whole world. And you think, wow, this thing that I think about myself isn't even necessarily true.
Wow. That's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Janis Isaman, for, having a really great time discussing about your work, your projects, and about positive mindset on this show. So, do you have any projects that you're working on?
I don't have anything specific. I have a digital offering that is still in some level of infancy. So I'm offering private and group services throughout, it's streamed everywhere through the world. So that is the only thing that I would kind of call a project, because it's an ongoing growth project.
That's right. No problem. So any party word?
No, thank you so much for having me.
That's all. Cool. Thank you once again. It's been Omobola Stephen. Thank you for hanging around on this show. Till I come your way some other time. I need you to stay self always, and always remember to live life and live it fully. It's bye for now.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. Live life. Live fully.